should work. Hello? Can you hear us now?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Yes.
There we go. All right, consent agenda. Those items on the council agenda which are considered routine, non-controversial are included as part of consent agenda. Unless a council member specifically requests that an item on the consent agenda be removed and considered separately, items on the consent agenda are considered under one motion, a second, and a vote. Any item removed from the consent agenda shall be placed at the end of general business. Tonight, on the consent agenda, we have December 4th, 2023, city council meeting minutes. And we have the acceptance of the Terra Farm infrastructure improvements and release of financial security. Is there anybody that wants to pull any of those items from the consent agenda? If not, I would take a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Abe.
Second.
Thank you, Jay. I'm going to motion and a second to approve the two items on the consent agenda. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Open forum. The public forum is intended to afford the public an opportunity to address concerns to the council. The public forum will be no longer than 30 minutes in length, and each presenter will have no more than 5 minutes to speak. Topics of discussion are restricted to local governmental topics rather than private or political agendas. The council may discuss, but will not take formal action on public forum presentations. Is there anybody who'd like to speak for open forum tonight? If so, I do ask that you do come to the podium and speak from there. Well, not seeing anybody, we will close open forum and move on. All right, general business. We'll start with number one, resolution 2023-42, approving a preliminary plat for Lake Estates second edition. Cindy, do you have this one?
Yes, I do. Give me
Okay.
1 second to pull open the plat.
Daryl, we'll get you a question after we open the subject a little bit here. Hang tight.
So thank you, Mr. Mayor. On your agenda this evening is a preliminary plat for Lake Estates second edition. This is a property that is currently, it's an outlot actually of the original Lake Estates. It was kind of a little bit disjointed and separated from the original plat that is mostly over here. It has frontage currently on Texas Avenue and also is located at the very end of the temporary cul-de-sac for Boone Avenue right here. As part of their preliminary plat, despite that ultimately what they will only be platting is this one outlot from Lake Estates that's right here, they did show how future roads and lots could lay out on the several properties to the north of that between their proposed plat at this time and Gray Fox Estates area, as well as Lake Estates on the western side. The civil plans probably show a little bit better view of what's actually going on with this plat. So you can see they'd be extending Boone Avenue just a short ways. There'd be one lot on the west side, one lot on the east side. They delineated the wetlands in there. One unique feature to this plat is that when the original Lake Estates was done, so we always require that somebody plats their entire property. And as part of that, since there was no known phasing for when this would be platted and recorded, there was a requirement at that time that an emergency access easement be granted through this area in case they never came back and platted this other portion. So the development agreement from Lake Estates, the original edition, had this easement in here, but that easement also terminates once they final plat this area. We did have quite a few comments at the public hearing from neighbors predominantly to the south of this project. There's some drainage features in the area that they are concerned about. Drainage is certainly something that the city engineer looks at as part of his plat review, and he was aware of all of the items that they were of concern with. And that is something we'll take another look at as they head to final plat. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Okay, thank you, Cindy. Appreciate that. Council members, do you have any questions of staff? Dale, did you have a question or something on that? And I will ask you, do me a favor, can you step up to the podium? And then when you get up there, there's a square button on that microphone. Hold that down for a second till the green light comes on there. All right, you're good. Thank you, Daryl. And just for the record, please state your name.
Darrell Lake. I have a real concern on the grading and erosion control on item 5. She's calling for us to take that ditch and make 3-to-1 slopes or 4-to-1 slopes on that. And that would require that we move all the trees. And when we're at the planning and zoning open hearing, the biggest concern the neighbors had was I'm going to take too many trees down. And my information was they were only going to take down what the road required to come through. But on this, if you notice that that creek does not run all the way on my land, runs here and there. And if I have to take those trees down, I certainly am not going on their land and touch them.
Okay. Cindy and Shane, was that a comment that we addressed during review?
So if it's okay, I'll defer to City Engineer Nelson for that, addressing that comment. This is unfortunately the first we've heard of that concern, so we weren't able to address that before this meeting, but I know Shane was having some audio problems. I hope he can hear now.
I see he unmuted his microphone.
Yeah, I actually just fixed the audio problems, but I don't think I quite caught everything that Daryl said. So if you could repeat the question.
Yes, you require me to grade the slopes on the side of that creek to 3-to-1 maximum slope or minimum. Thanks. And when we talked to the planning, the neighbors there were very concerned about the tree removal. And if I have to remove those trees, and that creek does not run all the way on my property, so there'd be whatever I'd have to do on my side, but I'm certainly not gonna go on the neighbor's side.
Okay, yeah, that's something that we could take a closer look at, Daryl. I mean, as this project moves, progresses through the process. The time that I've been out there and viewed this in the field, that ditch is kind of, it's an agricultural ditch right now. It has really steep sides. It really wasn't dug for, having residential uses adjacent to it. So my recommendation would be anything that can improve the situation without, without causing a negative effect on the neighbors.
But we wouldn't, I mean, Shane, just to answer Daryl's other part, we wouldn't be able to require him to do any work that wasn't on his property though, right?
That is correct, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
Yeah, the comment was just pertaining to the portions of the ditch that's within Mr. Lake's property.
Okay. Does that answer your question, Daryl?
Somewhat, yes.
Yeah. So I think there's two pieces to the answer to that question, right? Number
Yeah.
one, we wouldn't be able to require you to work off of your site. Number two, I think between preliminary plat and final plat, more of those details between our engineer and your engineer can be worked out on the grading plan.
Okay. That's all I had.
Okay, thank you, Daryl. Council members, any questions, comments? Otherwise, if you guys are ready, I would take a motion to approve resolution 2023-42.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2023-42.
Thank you, Bill.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Abe. So I've got a motion and a second to approve resolution 2023-42, approving a preliminary plat for Lake Estates second edition. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you. We'll move into item number 2 in general business, which is adopt the 2024 city budget and levy. And I will pass it off to Administrator Reynolds to do a brief summary of that action.
Thank you, Mayor. So we get these up. Just kind of briefly highlight back through the 2024 budget that we went through. We can see our tax capacity continues to grow over the last several years in the city, which helps with offsetting our taxes as we look at it moving forward. General fund, we're just gonna jump here to our revenue sources. We have total revenue sources of just over 3 million for our general fund for 2024. And of that, 2.1 million is coming from levy. Others are coming from the other sources you can see here. General fund expenditures are just over 3 million. As we look at it, 21% is made up of personnel expenses. Professional services make up 23%. Public safety is 33% of our budget. Public works is 14% of our budget. And then just those miscellaneous expenses take up about 9% of our budget. As we look into 2024, here you can see where our expenses are budgeted. And as you can see, there's some drastic changes moving forward into 2024, and that comes with changing kind of from township financing over to city financing as we move forward and kind of the direction things are going. So a realigning of expenses. Public safety, to hit on this one, as you can see, we are looking at a 25% increase in our public safety expenditures for 2024. So this is one of our biggest overall expenditures in the budget this year. And that is in large part due to the full-time, paying for a full 12 months of full-time fire at Prior Lake, in addition to some increases in the police contract that we have with the Sheriff's Department. Capital improvements. I'm going to kind of jump through these. We've been over them a few times. As we look at our total capital projects, our expenditures for those are at 2.9 million. So getting close to $3 million in capital improvement projects that we're looking at for 2024, with 1.7 of that on streets, whether that's in street reconstruction overlays or with the turn lane and bypass lane projects that we have planned for 2024. Public works, some expenses there. General government, that a large part of that is built for, or is for the government center, looking at land acquisition and the design work and site selection kind of evaluation work during 2024. And then starting the water and the wastewater planning in 2024 as well. Funding sources, as we look at this, we've got bypass lane for 400,000. We have a bond that will cover the bypass lane fund, and the bond covers those street improvement projects. Reserve funding of just under $900,000. Some of this funds you can see is found over in the general fund. So when you see those general fund expenditures, that does include a few projects here for $48,000 worth. And that $3 million, as we're looking at it, there's a $400,000 levy for the capital projects. So as we look into 2024, here's the revenue budget. As you can see, the levy is 2.7 million all in, and we're looking at revenues of 3.9 million over the general parks, bonds, and capital to source our expenditures in 2024. Reviewing this again, we look at levy is making up 69% of our budget, our revenues for next year. Expense budget is 6.3 million. As we look at all the expenses, so the general fund at just over 3 million, capital funds here is that $2.4 million. So that's our total expense budget for 2024. Levy, 2.1 million going to general fund, 400,000 going to the capital improvements fund, and 217,000 going to the debt service, for our total levy of $2.7 million, which is a 9% increase from where we were at in 2023. That gives us a proposed tax capacity, is what we're looking at. It'd be at 17.092%. And that goes up from here. You can kind of go back and see we had 16.14% in 2023 and a 15.56% in 2022. When we look at the 17.09, this was kind of going back over that. If we look at a home with an estimated market value of $402,000, we follow it without any market value adjustment, so the value of the home doesn't go up. You can see how the taxes have been affected. So 23, their taxes went up $23, and in 24, there'll be a $38 increase on their taxes. So just kind of as a reference point. And then tonight you have in front of you the final levy resolution adopting the levy and the budget resolution. And once the levy, those are approved, we will get those submitted to Scott County. They are required to be to Scott County by statute by the end of December. That's a real fast highlight over what we've had and we've gone over a few times. I'm happy to go back through any of it if you want me to, but available for questions.
Okay, thank you, Kathy. Council members, any questions, comments on the presentation? We've been through this several times, several different workshops, several different through the truth and taxation hearing and all that, and this is where we land tonight.
I think maybe just one comment from me, 2 comments. What we learned this year, I think I'd love to make sure that I know we had some challenges and some difficulties with staff and whatnot, but just want to make sure that we start that budget process. Preliminary conversations earlier. It seemed like it was pretty quiet for quite a while, so I want to make sure we get that right next year. Next year, maybe. And then secondly, I think we just need to keep that communication out front as our residents see that increase. What is that for? Why are we doing it? We heard even comments last time of, if I was in the private sector, I wouldn't want that. And I think we just have to keep telling that story of what is it that we have. Or we got some real big constraints on our public works. If we don't do something, we're gonna be in a bigger hurt. So we just have to get that message out there so that people can understand it. Doesn't mean it's gonna solve it, but I think we owe it to our residents to make sure we do that. So.
Yep. Okay, thank you, Abe. Anybody else? Otherwise, I would entertain a motion to approve resolution 2023-37. Resolution to set the final 2023 levy for collection in 2024.
So move.
Thank you, Jay.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Leroy. So I've got a motion and a second to approve resolution 2023-37. Resolution to set the final 2023 levy for collection in 2024. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. All right, we'll move on to item number 3, adoption of the 2024 community septic treatment system budgets and rates.
There's a second motion with that one.
Oh, is there?
2023-38.
Oh, sorry,
which
38.
is the
Yep,
budget.
I
So
just
there-
didn't scroll down far enough.
Thank
So then I will ask for a motion for resolution 2023-38, a resolution adopting the City of Credit Rivers 2024 budget.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Abe.
Second.
Thank you, Bill. So I've got a motion and a second to approve resolution 2023-38, the resolution adopting the City of Credit River 2024 budget. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Now we will move down to the third item, the adoption of the 2024 community septic treatment system budget and rates. Administrator Reynolds.
Great. Kind of hit the highlights on these for us again. We just went through these on Monday with the 3 different neighborhoods associated with these CSTS systems. But as we go through, kind of reminder, the considerations, we have the MPCA requirements, capital planning scheduled for 2024 to help address those MPCA requirements. The CSTS ordinance is under review. And there's one addition on here. We were asked at this is for the territories, and we were asked during the session last Monday what the reserve fund balance was for the territory. So we did add this onto the slide. It is $223,000. So MPCA requirements, as we talked about, the key here is budget planning for full system replacement and full system decommissioning, in addition to kind of the regular operations and items we have been budgeting for. So capital planning will help us put that into perspective. This is going for all 3 systems. all three systems, we are looking at jetting a third of the system in 2024 and then doing the capital planning. So you'll see those expenses on all three of the systems as appropriate. Revenue budget for the territories is 192,405 with an expense budget looking at 176,625. The remainder of that between your revenues and your expenses is your reserve funding that's planned on an annual basis. Or the 194,085. Get down to the grand total. So where everybody becomes interested is this is looking at a rate of $119 a month for your territory's CSTS system. And once again, mid-year rate reviews for all systems with the CSTS ordinance update and the capital planning completion. So that's that, the territories.
And shared.
Yep. So if I have to go to the next one, they're all on their own individual. So MHSP, let me hit share screen on this one. Hold this one up. I'm going to move through some of the duplicate slides. As you can see here, the budget for them looking at revenues of 163,618. Grand total for their expenses down here is 154,577. And you see a large decrease. That's because the project that they had completed here in 2023, as we look towards planning for paying on that here in 2024. We'll jump into, we looked at the bond repayment option for this one. And so our final project cost for this, or project rates for this going into next year, looking at doing a 2024 bond to bond for the shortfall, which will replenish the reserves, plus also pay back the interfund loan that the city provided to the system for the project expenses. It's kind of a projection of what the rates will be. Those will be finalized once we actually have a bond in place. And we know what our actual rates are, but this is kind of a projection of what we. So looking at that, the 2024 monthly rate for the Monterey Heights South Passage system is $272.70. That is funding the capital and operating, the reserve funding that we have in place currently. The 2021 bond that was taken out to pay for the project that was completed this year, and then the 2024 bond that refunds the reserves in the city loan that was utilized to pay for the 23 project. So that is what we're looking at on Monterey Heights. And let me pull up Stonebridge, and this is one that we do have a few more things I'll focus on this one. So Stonebridge, I will just pull it up here at this. Everything came up. So there were some changes on this one. Looking at the operating revenue of 97,536. Grand total there on your expenses, you can see is the 695, 693. So 695,693. That's with the $600,000 capital project that we anticipate here, or we're planning for here in 2024. We had lots of discussions about bonding for this project. What does it look like? What are we doing with the rates as we look into 2024 and funding of this project? At the meeting on last Monday, we talked about not putting any funds into the rates today and waiting until we actually have the bonding coming up and we have final expenses, and we're closer to that, so we can look at all of our options and then doing a rate set mid-year to determine how we proceed. And some people expressed a desire to pay up front. So how does all of that work into financing of their project this year? So all that kind of going into calculation, we decided to leave the rate at the lower rate, which at last Monday we talked about that being at $240. Went back in and did some math and recalculated, and what we need without looking at the bond expenses is $254 to make the math on that budget slide work. So this slide here is based off of that $254. So there was some money missing when we were looking at, and we were talking about a $240 option. So the resolution as drafted has the rate at $254. If council wishes to do the $240, as we discussed on Monday, that would put our revenues at $92,160. So as you can see, that does go below our expenses there at $92,201. But we can do that with mid-rate. We're already talking about a mid-year adjustment, so we could address and right-size it mid-year. But know that we'd be some dollars behind already for what we need for the operations of the system. So just wanted to call that out. That is a change from what we talked about. We did talk about it at 240. For the evaluation, we do need 254 just for the base operations. So that is one that it's for council's discussion to kind of throw out there for you. Otherwise, I'm happy to answer any questions. That's kind of the real fast, one more time review of what we're looking at on these three systems.
Kathy, we're also going to take a look at what we did in 2017 in that system, if I recall, to ensure that we had a long discussion about residents were concerned that we already spent a lot of money 5 years ago, and that was supposed to fix the issue, and it didn't. So why did we pay that $100,000? Now we got to pay more this time around. How do we know that this is going to work? Is there going to be work done besides getting what the bond's going to cost and all that stuff? We're going to be doing that for 6 months.
I think the goal, Bill, out of that is that we were gonna, as we move forward towards the project, have another neighborhood meeting with that neighborhood, get, engineers
Yeah.
who, looked at the system, come in
Consult.
and, be able to answer the technical questions that we couldn't
The
answer.
city's going to be able to do that though, not the residents. They're not going to be calling the engineers. We're
No. We'll
Yeah, we'll
arrange
have-
another a community
No,
neighborhood
else, yeah.
meeting
Yeah.
to address the project in and of itself after the first of year and get everybody engaged and give them a chance to kind of pull together some information on this and schedule a time that we can do that. So
Okay.
that's in the plans for after,
In the first 6 months.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Before
Yeah,
we
we gotta
move forward
get-
and get the
Yeah,
bond. And
before we
go
jump
forward
into
and
the
we're
bond
going
and
out for
jump into the
bids for
project.
Project, we'll
Yeah.
have a meeting.
Yeah, I thought we were also gonna see if we could get the residual nitrate levels.
Yeah.
Existing.
That's all kind of part of that, and I've got a data request from one of the community members that we're working on, but I've been focused on trying to get all this stuff
Mhm.
done, so we'll be trying to locate some of those other materials to respond to that, and then, like I said, scheduling the meeting to address all of those concerns.
Okay.
To follow up on that, did we get a list of all the questions, the technical questions? I mean, in my opinion, having engineers come out cold and try and answer questions without doing research would be probably a miss on our part, so.
No, I will get all of that coordinated with them so that they know a lot of what the concerns are, that they are ready and willing and able to address them. So we don't come to a meeting and go, well, now we need to go do some research.
Perfect.
I mean, can't say that they don't come up with some new questions,
Sure.
but no,
Always happens,
we'll be
yep.
going through all of that with the experts before we get the meeting scheduled to make sure we are prepared to cover those topics. And provide the information in regards to.
And maybe just communication out with the homeowners association president to facilitate those or
Mhm.
ask for those questions again.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, we can work on this one. This one is for that neighborhood is a particularly difficult one, given the low number of properties that exist in that neighborhood at 32 and the size of the MPCA required modification to the system.
Yep.
Because it's tough, right? It has to happen. Otherwise, they have to have it to live there, right? It's also a big expense, so we gotta figure out, and make sure we dot the i's and cross the t's on that one. Any other questions regarding the rates or the resolution in front of us for adopting the
I
rates?
think we should move with the 254 just because we agreed to remove the bond payment. Well, if that's removing it, and it's 254, that's the one.
Yeah, we're already going to potentially upside down a little bit.
Right.
Yeah. So is that,
I will make a motion to approve,
2023-39?
2023-39 community septic treatment system budgets and rates for 2024.
Okay, thank you, Bill. Got a motion? Anybody want a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Ray. So I've got a motion and a second to approve resolution 2023-39, a resolution adopting the City of Credit River Community Septic Treatment System budgets and 2024 rates. All in favor, say aye. Anybody opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Next up, item number 4, resolution 2023-41, declaring Monterey Heights South Passage project cost to be covered by the 2024 bond. I see Dominique wrote the,
Correct, so that's the paperwork that's required. We're declaring an intention that, we would reimburse expenses with the bond.
Okay.
That MHSP.
so,
We're replenishing our general fund.
yeah, I think all of that, right? So the project cost, total cost is 512,000. We originally bonded for 150,000 in 2021, and then we had an inter-fund loan from the city for another amount. So the total of 512,000 would be then bonded for and then pay off the other 2 funding sources, correct?
So what we're recommending is that we would bond as if we originally bonded the full amount of the
Yep.
project, I guess is the best way to think of it. Originally, the estimate was the 150,000 that Chris is saying. And the project ended up being higher, so we had minimum loan. So that if we bond, for the overage, then we would be, paying back the inner loan, and it would be, I guess, independent from the city.
Mhm.
And that was part of the original, in the presentation.
Okay. Council members, any questions, comments on that?
So are we bonding for the full now, 512? I thought some were gonna pay this down, or was that?
No, we're
No,
not
this is-
bonding, we have 2 bonds. We had a first bond when the original estimate was 150.
Okay.
So we have a bond in 2021. Then we had a shortfall. So we covered the shortfall using reserves,
178,500.
and then an inner city loan. So we have the opportunity in the 2024 bond, if we submit this declaration to bond for the shortfall in total. So we have it estimated at 380. So it would be a second bond, 2024. So that with that bond that we would, in the main time frame, we would bond the 380 and we would reimburse the reserve and reimburse the city.
Yeah, it's really on page 104 of the.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's what we're displaying right now.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
I pulled
Right there.
the slide
is.
back up from the
yep,
budget, so you can see that's really
Yes.
what we're looking to do.
Yep.
And you're statutorily required to do a reimbursement resolution if we're going to do this.
Yeah.
And if we don't do it today, we miss the opportunity.
Yeah.
Because it's time sensitive.
mm-hmm.
Right.
All right, any other questions? Otherwise, I'd take a motion to pass resolution 2023-41, declaring the official intent of the city of Credit River to reimburse certain expenditures from the proceeds of improvement bonds to be issued by the city.
So move.
Thank you, Jay.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Leroy. So I've got a motion and a second to approve resolution 2023-41. Resolution declaring the official intent of the city of Credit River to reimburse certain expenditures from the proceeds of improvement bonds to be issued by the city. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. All right, we'll move down to item number 5, claims and transfers. Who's got that one?
So, we had, claims in the consent agenda of 123,441.12. Over this past week, we've gotten, some additional invoices, and because it's the end of the year, I've gone ahead and processed them. So we would like to add a second claims batch of 66,767. Each of you should have a copy of that and 39 cents. Just to get the payment out. And then also to help with year end, so we don't have to do additional accruals, additional paperwork. So the total claims with adding that second batch in is 192,0851. And the transfer would remain from savings to checking because we need a transfer of 225,000, but that does not need to change. So the request is for approval on claims of 190,208.51 and a transfer of savings to checking of 225,000.
Okay. Thank you, Dominique. Anybody have any questions for staff on that one? Otherwise, I'd take a
I
motion.
just have one question.
Yeah.
So for transparency's sake, how are we getting this into our packet, or how are residents seeing this extra claim?
It's
Being shared right now.
Shared, so the public can see what the additional claims are.
Okay, so I gotta view this meeting.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there any other way to do that? It seems.
Do we add that into the pack?
It gets to a request that I've had to modify agenda packets after meetings, which
Addendum, not modify.
I'm
This one seems like
researching I'm researching it to see if that typically has not been my process, and had reasons explained to me on not to modify after meetings. So kind of looking at what best practices are to see how we do that after the fact. But that's why I specifically pulled this up so it can be shared, people can see it, and look at it.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to put that on a future agenda after Kathy does her investigations, because I think it's incredibly important that whatever we see in front of us,
Right.
it gets easily put on the website so other members of the community can see it without having to, like, if they look at something, what do I get a request? Because I don't even know what to call it. So let's put a cat.
We can research that. We can research that going forward.
Yeah. And just, I don't have any experience with other cities, but I do this all the time with the school district, and when they don't have something in the meeting packet, the board packet, they post it after the meeting. So every citizen sees it, whether it's on a screen or not. It's just, it makes it easier for the residents. That'd be my thought.
Okay. All right. Now, what about regarding the claims and that? Are we ready to approve the claims?
Yeah, I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Leroy.
Second.
Thank you, Jay. I've got a motion and a second to approve the claims and the transfer tonight. The claims total will be 190,208.51, with a transfer from savings to checking of 225,000. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Next item, item number 6, will be the selection of government center construction manager. Kathy, if you'd like to go through that one, please.
Thank you, Mayor. We've been moving forward with our processes for trying to get the kind of the design team on board for the government center work. Council had authorized release of construction manager RFP. We did get 5 proposals in, and as a result, the building committee, Councilor Zanto, Councilor Saddleback, and myself interviewed 3 out of those 5 firms and came to the recommendation to recommend Terra Construction as the construction manager for the project. Overall, they came through with a strong proposal, and many strong proposals, but they came through with a strong proposal for us. And looking at what we need and what's out there, and pulling this up so I see their costs and expenses. Really, I think a large part of kind of what was maybe the distinguishing factor when it came to this firm was really the engagement piece of it and bringing the community along, understanding that the tools that they have and that they utilized in other communities, but understanding the need to be able to show the community what's going along, engage the community in the process as we're going through it, and bringing that to the table. And not just bringing that to the table, but as we look at it, that is work that's, a lot of that is happening in that phase 1 and part of the pre-construction. So that space needs analysis, looking at that part of it, and really the amount of time. Well, it's an $8,000 cost. You can see that there's 10,700 that they're writing off. So the amount of hours that they're bringing to kind of that really shows that their involvement and their engagement in that kind of process, and helping us to figure out what we need, and helping the community along with that, and helping us bridge some of those pieces that we need help with doing as we look through this. So I think that's kind of the overall. As we look at the costs for them, they had phase 1's space needs analysis, $8,000 fee. That shows a $10,700 discount off of the hours that they project to spend on there. Design development, there's a $10,000 fee. So that's kind of the space needs analysis. Phase 1 is the analysis plus the concept design. And then that next phase is really design development, schematic drawings, design drawings, construction drawings. And that comes in at $10,000. And then you move into the construction costs. And the construction cost is in 3 buckets. You have an estimate of the $467,000. That's the fees really for your superintendent, your project manager for the on-site construction. It was based off of a 12-month construction period that we had everybody estimate to. So we had kind of commonality amongst all the proposals. And then reimbursables of $52,000, which once again is based off of that 12-month construction cycle. So we had comparable proposals to look at. They did note that, you know, this is proposed at a 12-month cycle, but they do believe that what we're looking at doing can be done in a shorter construction window than the 12 months, which would take those costs down. Because like reimbursables is based off of a job trailer and a monthly rate. So if you're using it for 10 months instead of 12, our costs will come down. And then they had a construction management fee of 1.7%, and that's based off of your total construction costs. So is that fee. So the recommendation is that we move forward with the selection of Terra, and that authorize the signing of a contract with them based off of review and approval of the city attorney. And happy to answer any questions on it.
Okay, Council?
I think we should just probably make sure that we mention somewhere in the contract, the schedule and reduction of fees. Besides the general conditions, there was supervision, which adds up to quite a bit, as well as project manager, et cetera. So we should just make sure that we have that mentioned in there. We don't know what it's going to be. We don't know what materials we're using yet, or what the actual schedule would be. But
Mr.
Just,
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Bob?
I couldn't hear what Jay said. I was wondering, could he repeat his comment a
Oh,
little
sure.
louder?
I'm sorry. I think we should make sure that we mention that in that contract that we have a possible shorter period of time and reduction of costs. And then probably identify the costs that might be reduced
Would be reduced because of a shorter schedule.
if that happens. Just so that it's in there.
So basically, just so I'm clear, Jay, what you're looking for is some sort of a notation in the contract that would recognize if we did everything based on a year. If it didn't take a year, there'd be a corresponding reduction in the costs.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Council, any other questions?
Can you refresh my mind? What are we using BKV for
Architecture.
versus Terra? So architect, it's just,
Architect and construction manager.
Because, isn't this construction manager, Terra?
Tara is the construction manager, BKB is the architect.
Okay. And BKB has their own contract. I
Correct.
guess. And their costs aren't in this.
No, this is outside the scope of the BKB contract.
Yeah, Mr.
Dave?
Mayor, I'd like to make a couple comments in here. I think Tara, as Kathy mentioned, will bring a lot of user engagement and resident engagement in here, which I think is key. I think the point of them, I think the project manager said it 2 or 3 times saying I will be at every meeting, and we're trying to kind of poke at that, and he's like, no, I really mean that. So their engagement in the space analysis, I think not only is PKV there from an architect perspective, but construction managers there as well as staff and council. So I think having more minds is phenomenal. The other thing they mentioned too is the question was, what's the biggest challenge we're gonna face? And the statement was, everyone's gonna want more than we should start with. So they were very cognizant of the fact that let's get the bare bones and plan for future growth versus building the Taj Mahal and having to come back down when we see a price tag. So I thought they were more aligned with what we're looking for, and would be a great partner.
Did they say anything about supplies and labor shortages, or is that kind of like, have we moved past that now? Because 12 months is pretty darn fast, I would think. Build something.
Jake.
Okay. And this isn't that time, this isn't
No.
any complicated.
The biggest thing I think they were talking was transformers, correct?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Of all things.
Of all things, that's it. So,
Interesting.
Are there any projects we can go and look at?
yeah,
Do you have a list that maybe Kathy can send?
We'll be scheduling project tours and so forth to go and look on. That's part of the space needs analysis and the concept design phase. We'll be going out and saying, okay, here's a public works building. Here's, what do you like? What do you don't like? What works? Talking to the people that are utilizing it. What works? What doesn't work? What do you wish you had? What do you that you need that you don't
That's
need?
great. My
and
question is
doing
more
that
related to
process.
like, what have they done? Like, did they just build a fire lake facility we can go and just look at from the outside without schedule anything, or? Did they tell us projects that they've done?
Yes.
Yeah, they gave us a pretty good
Good
list.
resume of stuff that
Yeah,
they've
all-
done.
So you guys.
Yeah.
We looked at 5.
Okay. Well, then.
5
I'll
different-
look at them if you
yeah.
can.
Interviewed 3.
Yeah.
Perfect.
When these guys really stood out.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. There's no other comments. I would,
I guess I'm back to my comment. When are we gonna get some land so we know what the hell we're building?
That is part of this phase 1 is site evaluation. So phase 1 includes the space needs analysis. It includes your concept design. But in doing that, we also have them looking at sites that we do have some identified and helping us with the site evaluation. So as we look at it, we can kind of go, where do we want to go? What makes the most sense? And then we can start entering into negotiations for the purchase of property.
All right. Any other questions, comments? Otherwise, again, I'd take a motion to approve if somebody's ready.
I'll make that.
Thank you, Jay.
I'll second.
Thank you, Abe. I've got a motion and a second to approve Terra Construction and authorize the administrator to work on entering into an agreement for the construction manager of the project.
Contingent on attorney review.
So amended.
All
Thank
right,
you.
so I've got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. All right, move on to item number 7, snowplow rates. Kathy.
Thank you, Mayor. Pull this up so I can look at it here. So we talked to Gallagher's Inc. Gallagher's, they've been doing our snow plowing here for several years, I do believe. And they provided us with their 2023-24 season rates. And they were in the agenda packet. Let's see if I can get the right screen to come up and
There you go.
share that one out. So we can see there's the rates that they have for the 23-24 season. Most of those are reflecting roughly, I would say on an average, a $10 per hour increase over their 22-23 rates.
So I had this pulled because I just have one question on this. Don't we own the grader?
Yeah,
Why are we being charged $160 an hour?
we're not being charged.
Okay,
If they have to go rent one when ours breaks
I
down,
got you. Okay.
so.
So
Okay.
that was
just- It's just our list, requirement of 150 horse motor grader.
That was in the original requirements of the,
Okay.
when we first engaged with Gallagher's many years ago. Okay, any other questions on snowplow rates? Then I take a motion to approve.
Make a motion.
Thank you, Bill.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Leroy. Motion to approve, Gallagher's 2024, 2023-24 snowplow rates, even though it's not gonna snow in 23 anymore. What's that?
Hope not 24.
Yes.
Oh, I don't know. We should probably need some precipitation, Bill. As much as we don't like the snow, but anyway, sorry to digress. Again, looking for that motion to approve. We got the motion and a second to approve the 2023-2024 snowplow rates from Gallagher's. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Hearing none, motion passes.
I had one other question on that, which hasn't got anything to do with passing it, but in the financial impact of the proposal,
Yeah,
it says we
Have
have
30
approximately $30 or.
I think it misses 0.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
30,000.
Although it wouldn't surprise me if it was only $30
Yeah.
as much as it snowed in the spring, so.
Buckets of salt.
Well, we're saving it now.
Yeah. We probably used a bucket in the last couple, at least once.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right, sounds good. Any staff or council member updates today?
I do have some updates and
Okay.
reports to do.
Kathy,
So-
go ahead.
Sharing out, we did pull up, this is the November, we missed these at the last meeting, so here's the November building report totals. So make it a little bit larger here so you can see the applications started their downcline. We're getting into that December lull is what we're seeing right now with them, but we'll get those numbers once we finish up the month. But we went down in applications to 41. We had 10 major issued, 30 minor permits issued for a total of 40. So we're looking at 415 reports issued year to date, with 560 applications having came in for processing so far this year. New construction permits number hasn't changed. So total permit fees that's, like I said, this is coming through Citizen Serve that we're looking at is the 485, 460 at this point in time. So just kind of the update on where we're at. So we'll update again after December, and then as we move into 2024, we'll actually have a reference back of being able to look at what we did in 23 and do some comparisons backwards, see where we're at. So that's just kind of an update on building permits for the month of November. And then other items that I had to just kind of talk about, make the announcement on 2024 meeting schedule. I think I talked about it last month, but just because January is very different, making sure people do know. January, we are meeting on the 2nd and the 4th Monday, so it's January 8th and January 22nd due to holidays on the 1st and the 3rd Mondays. So just kind of making sure everybody's aware of that. It's
Get the calendar invite sent out,
yes. Oh,
please, and thank you.
on it. Then office hours. So for 2024, with the hiring of the planner and now having 3 staff members actually here at City Hall, which is great to have that on a pretty regular basis. We're looking to expand our official office hours for 2024. So we will be open on Mondays from 1 to 4, and then Tuesdays and Thursdays from 8:30 to 12. I will remain with those unofficial availability on the other days and times, but this does allow us to focus meetings during those off hours, so we can actually be able to accomplish meetings because we don't have the depth to be able to have meetings plus office hours. So it kind of hopefully provides a little bit of a balance there as we look forward. So we'll be updating the website and getting that information out there, but we'll be expanding official office hours to 3 days a week as we move forward. And then just kind of a note with holiday schedule, City Hall will be closed December 22nd and 25th for Christmas because we have the Christmas Eve and the Christmas Day. So with the weekend scheduling, those will be the observed holidays. And then January 1st closed for the New Year's Day holiday. And then just kind of an update today, we had the scale meeting for service delivery, and that we had a presentation by Gallagher's on a feasibility study for a potential consortium for benefits. So looking at all of the cities across the county and potentially like the watershed districts coming together and looking at what would it look like if we pool together and make one large pool for basically benefits as we, looking forward. So Gallagher's is going to be doing a feasibility study to do the analysis of that, to see what would that look like for determination of if people want to join into that, whether that be still a fully insured plan or some self-insured options as we move forward. So they're going to be starting that. Scale is paying for that feasibility study. So they came in and talked to, today's meeting was basically as your city administrators across the county. So they came in and talked today and kind of gave us an overview of the process, and we'll be moving forward and working with them to get all the data that they need to do the analysis. So that's all I have there.
Good.
Question, Kathy, the planning commission meeting for this Thursday is canceled. Was there a resident email that went out saying it's canceled, or don't we do that when the meetings are canceled?
I will be getting one out yet. I have not sent that one out. We've got the notice out to the planning commission, and the notice is up on the website showing that it's been canceled. It has not gone out in an email. I'm working, didn't get to it last week with trying to get the budget and everything else done for tonight's agenda, but we'll be putting together a bulletin with information on that being canceled, the budget's approvals, and getting everything done.
All right, thank you.
All right, sounds good. Anybody got anything else?
The only thing I would add is for starting. This
Okay. Sounds good. All right, with that, tonight, I'm gonna be looking for a motion to recess. As we have on the agenda, we're gonna go into closed session after we pay claims to run through the city administrator's evaluation. So if somebody is ready to make a motion to recess.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Abe.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Leroy. So I've got a motion and a second to recess. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. So we're going to pay claims and then we will go into closed session.